Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED, and this is Q5 Ham Radio. I'm back with the contest crew, Bill W9KKN, Chris KL9A, and Dan N6MJ. Unfortunately, Randy K5ZD was here just a minute ago, but we've lost him. He's lost his Wi-Fi. We're here to talk about what happened in 2025, what's going to happen in 2026, but first we're going to get into the RTTY Roundup. And Bill, I think you've got some experience with the Roundup this year.
Well, I do, and this is the first contest I've done since Worldwide Code, which is kind of nice because I sort of mentioned before that I've been missing getting on the air and I looking for an excuse, and then in the last episode Chris said, "Oh, I'm going to get on the RTTY Roundup," and I said, "Well, if you're going to do it, then I'll do it," and so I started unpacking some of the remote stuff in the house and getting ready to possibly use ZF1A remotely to do RTTY Roundup, and figured out that we just hadn't quite wired things correctly to do that. So like, oh shoot! I mean, this is like Friday night before the contest, and I'm thinking, no, I guess I won't do RTTY Roundup. So I reached out to I hear that K6JO, who's been on the show, is operating NJ4P. And I've always wanted to, operate that station. So I asked, hey, by chance, do they have room for an extra operator? And he asked, and of course, Ron and Trish were a little hesitant to bring someone in at the last minute. But I mean, I'm an experienced RTTY op. You sure, man? I'll get on and I'll help out a little bit. We'll work it out. And sure enough, he agreed to do it. And yeah, I got on and got to experience the very loud station in Tennessee, and I was really impressed with the way he had it set up. And the station's very loud, and I had a good time in RTTY Roundup, mostly on Saturday. I believe I was on 20 meters, and then K6JO Levi still got on Sundays for some time, and we did a multi-2, and the conditions weren't quite good enough for. Well, I don't know that we made the record, but it looks like a very solid score in the multi-2 category, and worked as best as we could. So I was very happy and very thankful to Ron for letting me join at the last minute, and very impressed with his MOS setup, and he's got a lot of good things going on at that station.
Who else was part of that team, Bill?
Oh boy, now I'm gonna I guess I'll have to go to 30 to get the whole list, man. Put me on the spot here. So it looks like, well, of course it was Ron and Trish, but AA4CS, K4HWS, K9TI, and then 5SS, NR4L, WK9M, and then WV4P.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you didn't embarrass the contest crew by your involvement.
There's always a risk in that. Very, very, very.
Did anybody else do the roundup?
I got it for just a little bit. I'm not a RTTY guy either, but the last RTTY contest, I don't even remember what the contest was, but it was RTTY's. I'm like, okay, we'll get on for a little bit. And it actually was, a little bit fun. You have to understand contesting. You can't just rely on the computer to do everything for you. There were some times where I was getting partials on a call in the logger window, and like I just knew who it was based on my experience. So that was kind of cool, especially when you get it right. And one thing I have to really say about NJ4P in particular, same thing that last RTTY contest that I did. It never ceases to fail. Whenever I get on and start calling CQ, just for a minute or two, one of the first guys that ends up calling in is NJ4P. They've got that system down to a science, it seems like. And I think that's why they're really putting up the big scores. Now, not only do they have the big station, they have the operators that understand how to do, in-band and that kind of stuff. And it clearly shows in the results that they're having out there. So kudos to them for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't get on. I had planned on it, but then for better or worse, the Montana State Bobcats went to the national championship in football, and I didn't really pay attention to that because I had to cover for a guy at work because his wife is one of the marching band instructors. So he just had a young child. He's got a 2-month-old baby at home, so he had to stay at home while I had to work. Which was great. The Bobcats won in probably the worst and best football game I've ever seen in my life. And, I downloaded WriteLog. I got kind of set up. I'll try RTTY. It's not really my cup of tea, but if I had, 6 radios going, maybe it's a little more engaging. I don't know. I'll give it a shot at some point.
I mean, our good friend N2NL got on and did
Yeah,
great from Florida, man. Like,
you
what a
know,
score, dude.
what a stud! He got a 12-foot boom on his antenna, and he like won the contest. I think, at least on the
Yeah.
scoreboard, it's pretty amazing. So, I mean, it looks cool. He had a lot of cues.
Bill, what was your sense of the activity? Do you think there was a lot of people on?
I think that in the first half of the contest, the activity was definitely the limiting factor, but it was also the propagation because I think we started out with like a KP of index of 5 like at the beginning, and it sort of tapered off as the weekend went on, which sort of improved things. But in the beginning of the contest, if the conditions aren't good, people kind of give up and they walk off and say, oh, I'm going to go do something else because the conditions aren't great. So it definitely felt like the rate could have been a little higher just based on that, but I don't know. I haven't done Ready in a couple, or at least Ready Roundup in a couple of years, so I don't have the best sense of it going in. But I know that we were definitely under the rates for last year for the first part of the contest. So I think we were like 200, 300 cues behind, and we made it by the end. We were 100 cues behind the last year's score at the same point. So we had a lot of ground to pick up, and you sort of saw that happen as the contest went on.
So I'm getting the sense that you're settled in at your new QTH.
Well, so remember this is a rental house, so I'm not going to be able to put really any antennas up here. But yes, I'm settled in. I've got the workbench at least mostly established, just to my left over here, and I've got most of the little parts picked out of the various boxes, and I'm starting to thinking about, okay, where am I going to put the antennas on the new property and all of that. So we're getting there. It's been pretty cold here in Illinois, but now it's 50 out now. We're having a great like very unseasonable week here. So it's very I'm hoping to get started as soon as it's possible outside to maybe put some towers up and some antennas. But it's going to be a long process. I'm not kidding myself. I don't think for even this summer, I'm not going to be QRV in any meaningful way. I mean, even for the fall, like I'll start, going to ZF and stuff. But shortly after that, I hope to have at least something up that I can, log, get on the air and not have to remote into something else. Because that's my preference. Is I really want to be, at the radio.
So speaking of ZF1A, NAQP, is that where you'll be?
I'm going to try to remote into it. The only part that was broken was the ready part. So it's a long technical story, so I won't bore everybody with it. But yeah, I might get on. I might do the whole contest. We'll see. I haven't I have a couple days to make up my mind.
You'll do the whole contest, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
So single up.
I'm going to ask Marty if he wants to do a multi-2. We've sort of had this thing for a couple of years where like the day before we're like, hey, you want to do a multi-2, and we both end up doing it. And we both end up putting up a pretty big score if we end up doing that, and both sit down and operate all 12 hours. Or if he doesn't want to, then maybe I will do the whole 10 out of 12. We'll see. I just don't know yet. Mostly because I haven't asked yet.
So since we don't have Randy here to give us the background on the NAQP, would one of the three of you grab that?
I can grab that. I was in charge of the NAQ PCW for 10 years. I guess I can wing it. I don't know the backstory of how the thing started with whatever, 35 years ago, but NAQ PCW is my favorite contest of all of them. I would say it trumps even Worldwide CW overall in the fun factor. Low power only. You can use assistance in a different category now. Some guy allowed that several years ago and ruined the contest. But it's been wildly successful, so that's cool. Mults are North American countries, states, provinces, the standard mult list. Mults are per band. So one big strategy is moving multipliers to other bands, especially the low bands late in the contest. You can see guys asking me to QSY a lot, which is really a big part of the strategy, which is cool. It's a 12-hour contest, and single ops can work 10 hours. So you don't have to be an Iron Man and sit in the chair for 12 hours. You get to take breaks, 2 hours off in at least 30-minute chunks. So it's very friendly with if you want to eat, you want to get up and stretch, do whatever. But that being said, the rates are incredibly high. With 100 watts and a tri-bander and 2 radios, you can have a 350-hour literally with a tri-bander, and that's pretty incredible. Guys with a single radio and a tri-bander and some dipoles will have 1,500 cues from all over the country. It doesn't matter where you are, you can still do it, and that's really incredible. And the top 5 is just like these ridiculous rates. N2IC has the record, and his score is got to be approaching theoretical max. I don't know. I think it's 2,400 cues. So it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and the January one is the biggest of the two. So I'm not sure what I missed, but it's just a fantastic time. Nobody has 60 over 9 signals and splattering because they're all 100 watts. Everybody's kind of equalized that way, and it really focuses on strategy and operator performance. And it's just a great time. Plus, it ends on Saturday. You got all Sunday left to do whatever you want.
So with any luck, I'll be on Turks and Caicos as Victor Papa 5 Echo, only with an Elecraft and a DX Commander. Any advice for me?
Yes. A couple of things. I assume you're going for phone. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So on phone, you're going to get asked to move a lot. If you're the mult, it's kind of up to you, man. If you want to move, go for it. But advice, assistance kind of changed a little bit. You can find a frequency in a good part of the band and just start CQing. Guys will find you. Rates will probably be kind of tough in the low bands with 100 watts, but again, everyone's running 100 watts. But on the high bands, you're going to have a blast. 20 at night, 40 even. Just keep running because they'll come to you. You're the molt. It'll be great.
Looking forward to it. Dan, what about you?
So I'll be skipping it this year, and I'll get on from home. Work a few guys.
Have you just completely retired?
Well, it's funny you say that because no, I haven't. So what ended up happening is usually I do multi-2 out in Wickenburg at ND7K. And so I actually got a text just like 2 or 3 days ago from Axel, KI6RRN. He's currently in Wickenburg doing some antenna work and whatnot. And he's going to stay there for the CW contest doing a multi-2 with his WRTC partner, which is Marco, N5ZO. And so he texted me and he invited me out to come join the team. And most other years I would have said yes right away. This time I was like, well, I decided this year I'm not going to do quite as many things. Just within the last week, I've already booked 2 trips for some upcoming contests. One for ZF1A and AWLCW, and then why not go to New York for AWL phone? So I booked that ticket too. So I decided to do the right thing, and I said no. I already regret it, but I'm not going to change my mind this time. One of the big problems that I have is for my work, I travel a lot, and my first travel week is the second week of January, and that's right in between the NAQPs. So it does make it hard on family life to be gone during the week, and then has to be gone for 2 weekends too. So try my best to be a good husband and good father and staying at home, at least for one of them. So I'm skipping NAQP this time.
So since this is the first episode of 2026, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about 2025 and the highlights. And the highlights are pretty obvious: CQ9A, EF8R. But I'd like to hear from you guys. What other things happened in 2025 that you're particularly proud of? Bill, I'll start with you.
I was really happy to do a CTU presentation on remote, and it sounds like I'm going to do another one this year on multi-singles or in-band. And that was really just educating is kind of the highlight for me, and I'm really looking forward to that. And the other thing, I mean, of course, all of these trips have been very illuminating, and the CQ9A one was just a once in a lifetime experience, and we have Val and Chris and Dan to thank for that, and it's just been a really neat year. We did CW, worldwide CW, and all of these other things, and honestly, I didn't think I'd have a lot of with the move and everything, I didn't have a lot of time for contesting this year. I kind of knew that, even as the solar peak, I really sort of thought I was going to sit this year out in many ways, and I ended up not, and I'm really just happy, for all of the things that we ended up doing. And I'm hoping to contest a lot more in 2026. That's my goal for the year is let's get back on the air and start enjoying this again.
2025 for me was like the greatest year of all time. And I say that all the time, but you can feel free to cut me off, but I set some goals personally, and I got two of them. I didn't get really the other one because of this guy over here. Um, but we set the world record in WPX from CQ9A, broke the world record from CQ Worldwide CW from CQ9A. After Dan announced EF8R, I was pretty realistic about it, but that was just an incredible experience. We broke the world record claimed in worldwide phone from CQ9A, which was kind of one of those records that I always thought was untouchable. We're waiting for the final log checking to come through, and fingers crossed, but even breaking it before log check was just like crazy. And that whole experience was just like incredible. Those guys are amazing. It was just, I can't say enough how awesome that was. And we're super appreciative to Val and all the guys that traveled. And anyway, talk about that all day. But also Dayton, I haven't been to Dayton in years. I got to speak at the contest dinner, which was really cool for me. I had a lot of great feedback. A lot of guys talked to me. It was a great year. I got lots of antenna work done at my place. We had a lot of great contest results. An amazing field day. I fixed my antennas about 75 times.
Lots of experience. Good.
It was great. I learned the hard way.
The wind's blowing now.
The wind is blowing now. We had 100-mile-an-hour winds there and nothing. So that was pretty amazing. But 2026, I'm focusing on two things: my own station and operating there. And Dan and I have one more goal to achieve in 2026 in July. And let me say, for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm not jinxing it because this is a thing, but only one team has ever won WRTC more than one time, and that's K1TO and N5TJ. They won it three times in a row. Nobody has ever repeat won, and that says a lot about those two guys. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So I'm guessing that whoever wins this year could be a repeat winner because all the teams are there. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, 2026, lots on the plate. I want to get another tower up. I want to keep antennas in the air, and we want to do very well in July.
Yeah, so I had a lot of the same experiences that Chris had, so I'm not going to try and double dip on those. But of course, the big one for me was EF8R, having that come together relatively late in the year. I mean, the entire year I was trying to find a station in 3-point land. All my friends, Chris and Bill and Nate and everyone was looking for this 3-point station for me, and nothing was materializing. And just on a whim, I reached out one last time to Juan at EF8R, and that all came together very quickly. I can't thank Levi enough for coming with me on that trip, making it possible. But obviously that was one of those things that I knew was possible based on all the efforts that me and Chris have done from TI and ZF. And so the fact that we were able to show up and make it happen was a pretty big deal for us. And coming out on top was kind of what I was hoping for, but it all worked out the way that we wanted. Chris mentioned WRTC in 2026. Of course, in 2025, we've finished qualifying for that. So that was a big deal for me. I spent a good year doing a ton of contests. Most of those were in 2024, but some in 2025. A lot of them from Wickenburg and ND7K. So Tim N6WIN took good care of me for all that time. We were able to, get the scores that we needed. So that's something that's top of mind right now is getting ready for WRTC this year. A couple other things that happened in the last year. For IARU, I got a quick invite for that one as well from Tariq N2QV. So I got to go out to New York and see his station. It's always cool seeing something new. His station's definitely a little bit different than all the others. So it was really enjoyable getting some time to spend out there. And I'll be going out there at least once this year, maybe more, we'll see. But I'll be out there for ARRL phone in March. So really looking forward to going out there again and seeing what that station can do on phone. But I think, honestly, outside of EF8R, I think Dayton was definitely a highlight for me too, just like Chris said. We got to see a lot of people while we were there, of course. I mean, that's pretty normal, but Got to see a lot of the youths while we were there. It was kind of cool hanging out with them for a while. And then also, like Chris mentioned, that speech that he gave was pretty emotional for all of us that were close to him. So I was very happy that I got to be there and see that live and participate in that. So that's pretty much what's been going on for me in 2025 and of course 2026. Focused on WRTC and let's go Team USA.
So beyond the contest that you guys will be doing in 2026, are there anything that you hope for the contesting community in general? Things that you'd like to see happen differently in 2026 or improve upon?
I'd like to see the POTA guys just show up and make us, flooded with pileups in every contest. I get on before the contest and test my antennas because they're always broken. And I hear these POTA guys, and they're loud and they're running guys and they're just excited. And I see these things where they activate, 20 parks in 24 hours. And that takes some serious commitment and skill. And I'd love to see the crossover more. I don't have the time to do anything other than what I do, but I would love to see that. So if any POTA guys are watching, you guys are kick ass, and I'd love to see you get in some of the bigger contests.
Chris, how do you see that crossover happening? Do you think there's a category within the contest for POTA operators?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually pitched that to a group of guys, and I got shot down pretty hard. And I don't know if that was a minority or not, but I think more categories is fine if you want to track it, however you want to track it. I think a POTA category would be super fun. We know guys that do kind of do that anyway. They just plan their activities during a contest. They can make more cues, right? It's worth it. I think a category would be great.
Or even an overlay.
An overlay, track it separately.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kinds of ways to do it, but more activity is good. And the cool thing about contesting is, if your antenna is working, you'll make that work, guys. If it's not, you're going to try to improve it, and then you're going to keep going from there. And I think it could be very powerful if we got that group of really active people into contesting.
Well, I got to say, I love the idea. As I've said on the show before, POTA activators are totally into rate. They're not doing it for 24 hours like you guys are, 48 hours, but they'll sit down and really work a lot of contacts in a couple of hours. So I think they were already geared up to do this. So I love the idea. Dan, any thoughts on your end?
It's funny, not to keep repeating what Chris says, but that was also what came to my mind is somehow getting the POTA guys in. I think one of the guys that we've kind of focused on a little bit is Les KI5 GTR. He's one of the guys that really comes to mind that's made the transition from doing both POTA and contesting. So I'm not sure what it was for him that made him want to do both, but I think, tapping into his mind might be something worthwhile to see what we can do to expand that, because that really is where all the cues lie these days is in that POTA activation. And if we can get them out in contests, I mean, that would be super awesome. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities for that.
Bill?
I'm seeing a lot of healthy debate in the contest world these days about just quality of life improvements. Things like, can we shorten the amount of time before we, accept logs and things like that. And I just hope that we don't have to completely rock the boat and change everything and completely change the game. So I hope that we're a little bit conservative in what we end up doing. But I do hope that people keep an open mind, and I do hope that when we ultimately, get some of these things implemented, that we are able to, I guess, improve the user experience of contesting such that more people are, engaging in it. And, the reasons that people may, avoid contests or avoid, interacting with contesters are sort of reduced. So I would really just sort of hope that, that some of these things like better packet clusters or better log checking or, sooner adjudication do come to fruition. It may sound like I'm always against those things. I'm not. I just hope that that we, make some fundamental improvements to the whole thing.
Speak to the improvements that may need to happen at your levels, the highly competitive level, to equalize the playing field.
So specifically, I do think that it would be, the one thing that I really would be eager to see would be making it so that we can get the that we can get the results in a lot faster by maybe shortening the times for log submission and things of that nature. But I don't know about leveling the playing field. I don't know that I said that.
Yeah, I guess it was a leading question. I've met with you guys often enough now. I know that there are some challenges sometimes with some competitive contesters and maybe pushing the edge of the rules. And I don't know if any of you want to speak to that at all.
I mean, when you get into that, you get into people saying like, oh, SO2R should be a separate category, or oh, we need to limit, we need a category for this or that. And I think that, there are a lot of ways that maybe, you can have different record types, like, instead of, maybe the SO1RR record or something like that, but you don't need to get rid of the way that the existing system and completely blow it up. That's my only point. I just don't want people like Dan and others to who worked really hard for like a 2BSIQ world record that's unobtainium for somebody to ever really cross that. I think that there should be an opportunity to do it, but I don't think you need to completely reorganize the contest to make that a reality. I think you could just make another category or make another overlay or something like that.
Chris, Dan, anything?
I think I know what you're alluding to, but my biggest thing is not my biggest thing. A current thing is it's hard to compete against people that are not playing by the same rules, and that was always a great thing between Dan and I. Is I know he's above board, and I know I'm above board, and we could compare apples to apples, at least in that respect. We all know what I'm talking about, but I really wish the guys that were high-level competitors followed the rules. And the problem is when one person breaks the rules, you have to keep up with the Joneses, right? You have to stay competitive. You don't build these big stations and spend all this money and not be competitive. So if your competitor, is running 10 kW and has a remote receiver, well, to compete with them, you got to do the same. Otherwise, they will kick your ass. So at least that's the thought. So I just encourage everyone, please play by the rules. I assure you it's more fun anyway. When you're hyper competitive and you see the scoreboard on some of these multi-single scores, I mean, the top 5 is separated by like, a 1% between the top 5. That's really cool. And cheating, it's just not something that I'm down with. It's just not. But that's my long-term goal, is to kind of affect change there and get guys to realize that N6MJ can go to anywhere on the planet and kick your ass. He just proved that. So instead of trying to do all this crazy cheating stuff, maybe just do some more Morse runner. And I'm being serious. Like focus on operating more, or put up bigger antennas that are more effective and get more options. That's way more fun anyway.
Chris, beyond us talking about it and raising the issue, is there more that can be done beyond just hoping people?
It's just peer pressure, right? If you work, all the circles that we all run in, everyone is very much above board and legal, and we keep it that way. And peer pressure is the biggest thing. Is that the answer? No, it's not the answer. Everyone's got their own peers that they care about. So I think that's the only really realistic thing we have, our only weapon of choice and our only quiver in our arrow in our quiver, I guess. I'm open to options. That's all I can think of.
You're proving it can be done above board.
Right.
Right. And really, you need to exemplify the change that you wish to enact. And if you at least do that, then you are showing everybody that, hey, literally I can show up and I can do well above board with legal power, with all of these things. I don't have to do anything to the log. I can just turn it in. I'm confident in my own abilities and my own capabilities. And the station that I built and all of that.
Not to just focus on the negative parts of contesting, right? So one of the good things I think is happening these days is the youth movement. We know some of the top youths. We know who they are, and they've got lots of opportunities. But I like that some other stations are opening up their doors to some of the younger operators. I think that's a huge thing. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about too. If I had the opportunity, I would do more of that if I could. But even guys like stations you've been to, Kevin, like J62K, bringing youths down there. PJ2T bringing on an entire team of youths. Those are things that I think are really important to keep the hobby alive in the future. We've done a little bit, with ZF1A, bringing in Marty and Levi, getting them more established.
They're not youth anymore, man.
I know, they're
Right?
You're freezing up, Dan. Hopefully I haven't lost you. We did lose
Oh,
you.
we lost
Oh, man. He got randied.
it. He got randied.
Bill, this may be a good question for you. What do you think is going to happen from a technology standpoint that's going to change contesting in 2026 and 2027? I know I had a conversation with Case W9KKN the other day, and it seems as though he's talking about a different language. I mean, first of all, he's just skipping over SO2R and going right to 2BSIQ, but he's also talking about AI. He's talking about things almost just as if it's a matter of course it's going to happen. But what's your thought?
I do think that there are going to be some technologies, AI being one of them, that are okay. So this is where you get to level the playing field. Like with a synthesized voice, rather than listening and talking at the same time with 2BSIQ and phone, suddenly a lot more people might actually try that. I don't know that it'll work really well because it still sounds kind of robotic and we haven't quite mastered it yet. But we've seen how far some of these models have come in just a year span, and we've seen some pretty successful implementations of them with AP5A. His audio sounding, his synthesized voice is sounding pretty good right now, and I'm sure that it'll just get better, and maybe we'll be able to do it in real time. And there's going to be several of these cases. We've even seen a few things that I don't really quite care for, like robots that are trying to do CW. And trying to do, like search and pouncing and stuff. And I hope that we don't create a bunch of robo-lids on the air, but I also hope that, maybe some of these technologies do, level the playing field a little bit. We'll just have to see. But I mean, as far as like new radios coming out and stuff like that, I don't know that or new antennas or new, magic and multi-signal technology. I think a lot of that's pretty well established. I don't know that we're going to see like a whole, revolution of any of that just yet. But stay tuned. I've been surprised before. No one used triplexers until the triplexer showed up, and now everyone uses triplexers. So it's kind of a lot of these innovations can come out of just absolutely nowhere. And until you have that aha moment, and by the way, I encourage everybody to keep looking for them. I'm always sitting around. We were just talking before this video, like what are the spiffy things that Chris and Dan can do for WRTC that are just within the rules, but they give them some kind of advantage. And it's hard to kind of think along those lines. But I just hope that everybody what I realize about contesting, at least for me, is that it's not just a skill pursuit when it comes to the operating, it's a technical pursuit. The whole reason that we have one of the things that, in the hobby of ham radio is like, well, what do I use all of this for? Well, the reason that I study PCB design and any of this stuff is because I want to figure out a way to do something new with the radios and the stuff that I have that no one else has. And if I can find something like that, then but especially if I can get it before everybody else has it, that's the way to win.
Chris, anything to add to that?
I'm going to get a button that says no robo lids. I like that one.
Yeah, awesome.
But that's actually a big deal. For those of you that don't know, there's a robot out there, and I will not divulge how to find it, but it's prominent. There's a few big stations that use it, and it's awful because they think they work you, but they don't. It's just a train wreck.
And it keeps calling you. Oh my God.
It just keeps calling. I'm sure the technology will improve. I know that some guys are using it as a single up, and they are cheaters. Whatever. We beat them anyway. It's fine. Don't do it. But Bill said the technology side. That's actually the most fun for me. I operating is a distant second. And Bill, we appreciate all your cool stuff that I get to implement in my station. So that's the cool part of it, because new gadgets is like what every guy likes, right? So ham radio's great for that.
There's so many multi-ops out there or stations that I bet, if you're interested in this stuff, they need a guy, and I can't be the guy for all of them. I seriously can't. Okay, so just please, other people do more of this. I can't wait to learn what you've done and do it myself.
You've both mentioned Dayton and WRTC, and I've got to believe just gathering contesters together has got to be a big part of improving contesting. So could the two of you speak to that?
So the thing you got to understand about WRTC in Dayton is that in the contest areas is that this is one of the only places you can go where everybody is passionate about contesting as you are. That you can talk to any of them, compliment them on what they've done, ask them what they're up to, share your ideas. It's perfect. If
Or you can trash
before
talk
that, you can trash talk them. That's even better. I mean, if you weren't pumped up before, you will be afterwards. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I actually would love to go to the Istra contest thing in Croatia. A lot of those guys I've known for years, and actually that's a great time of year. Tickets are super cheap, but you got that, then you got Worldwide Phone, Worldwide CW, so it's kind of tough. But that's a great idea. I'd love to see that keep growing. Stuff like that is just really cool.
Well, this might be a good time to jump in. Q5 is going to have a bigger presence in Dayton this year. We're going to be part of CTU registration and have a booth with the DX engineering people. So I'm really excited about that. We will be at WRTC. I'm going to bring some help with me. We'll be doing interviews during that entire week. And I plan on attending Istra with the Q5 presence. So really looking forward to all three of those events.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
And hopefully we'll see you guys there.
I'll be at one of them.
Well, there's still time to talk you into Dayton.
Dayton, obviously.
Right.
All right, guys. I appreciate your time. I'm glad that at least two of you hung into the end. You didn't lose your Wi-Fi.
And then there were three.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. This has been Q5 Ham Radio. I've been with the contest crew. Thank you for joining us. 73.